Thanks for joining us on today's edition of the program. On today's edition, we'll be exploring the impact of the grains that will be imported into the country by the federal government and what impact and effect it's going to have on food prices generally, because obviously there's been a waiver for importation of grains into the country from Europe, Asia, and some other part of the world. So all of these angles now we'll be looking at them. Then we'll be looking at it from several angles. In the terms of long term, we'll be looking at the economic impact of it, and then as well as also looking at the food security impact. Okay, the angle of for food security is just for us to have more food. So what is it going to tell for the short run now? How much grains are going to be provided, are going to be imported, that's going to last us for a very, very long time in the country? We are going to look at those angles. If this 150-day window is going to be enough for that. We're also going to be looking at it from another angle of regulatory framework, and then obligations, and then regulation bodies that are in charge that will make sure that the grains that they get us is actually something that we can also replant, and as well as also, help Nigerian economy boom, and then help us have food security. We're going to look at it from that angle too, and then also looking at environmental impact. So the program, today's edition, is packed with a whole lot of angles that we're going to look at this importation from. And another angle is Nigeria supposed to be important, even given the fact that Nigeria's economy was built on agriculture. So now why have we gone all the way down to, importing instead of exporting grains? I'll be going on a quick break, and when we come back, I'll be introducing my guest who is live here in the studio with me, who would help us extray and then bring more light and reasons why all of this is happening, and then the long-term and short-term goals of this importation for grains. Stay with us, we'll be right back. Many thanks for staying with us. If you're just joining, this is Midday Discourse on Global Television. And yes, we are going to be looking at the impact of grain importation, long-term, short-term impact, economic, regulatory bodies, and food security angle, environmental aspects as well. So at this point, I'll be introducing my guest, who is who is an economist, and then the Director General of Economics, and as well as Mr. Kunle Adeshina. Thank you so much for joining us on this.
It's a pleasure to be here once again.
Yes. So I'm sure you're aware of the current updates about grain importation, and then the federal government has waived, given 150 days. Looking at this angle now, how key is it? Is 150 days enough to solve the current food issue we have? The window of importing goods for just 150 days.
Thank you very much, Sam, for that question.
Yes.
First, to say this, I know the federal government has given 150 days free window for importation, and also they've gone ahead to declare it import duty free, so which means importers can do that freely. However, the challenge with that is, what is the implication of doing that? Yeah. And while you were introducing, as I was listening, you mentioned about, should we be doing that at this particular period? Yes, and I need to state it categorically, we should not do that. It looks attractive and it looks like the only solution we have on the table, but we should not do that. And the reason is this will destroy the local producers. Okay. It will find a way to destroy the market of the local producers. It means the local producer, this 150 days is like 6 months, so which means it will discourage them. We are talking about 5 months rather. It will discourage the local producer from producing. Okay. So let us not have a repeat of what happened in the 70s when oil, let's say 60s, 70s, when we discovered oil, and a lot of people abandoned this same agriculture to go into oil production, whereby the cocoa producers prefer to go and be a security man in NNPC because they are paid in dollars and they paid a lot. So before we could realize, it was too late for them, the cocoa producers, to go back into the production of cocoa, and that effect lingers till date.
You know, looking at those angles now, that's the economic angle now, you know, it's actually a whole lot, because obviously now that Nigerians now are importing, that means the demand for dollar is high. What effect is it going to have on Nigerian naira?
Definitely, there's a pressure on the naira, and that pressure will be a negative pressure, because nobody will want to sell to you in the foreign scene with your local currency. You have to exchange. You have to go by what is obtainable in the international market, which is the US dollar. So it means more naira is going to be exchanged for dollars, and that further increase the gap between the naira and the dollar. So we should be talking about, if within this 150 days, we should be talking about dollar averaging over 2,000 naira. $8 averaging over 2,000 naira. Okay,
looking at it, you know, the central bank has actually come out, and then just on Wednesday, they've been able to sell $872 million at the rate of 1,495 naira to help curb down all of this. And so far, we've seen the naira, you know, rebound from from Tuesday rather, up to date, which it has rebound, and then giving a wide spread of 120 naira against the dollar. So we are hoping to see that would, you know, help, because the recent statistics show that a lot of tourists, and then the fact that importation will be done, which has been waived by paying custom duty charges by the federal government, has been implemented. So it's making a whole lot of persons require more dollar. So now, how will this grains now be imported now, looking at the fact that the demand for dollar will be high, and looking at the angle you made mention of it, you know, breaking and spiking up to like 2,000, what effect is it going to have on food prices now in the market?
Well, it is simple. The food prices is going to go up. Well, food prices are going to go up, rather. You should expect more inflation. Like there should be, currently we have a little above 40% food inflation, so you should expect more of that, going up, say, close to 42-43% more because of this. And you mentioned the exchange rates, and we should not be quick to celebrate what is happening. Yes, it's good that the naira is gaining against the dollar. Yes, it's good, but it will be too quick to celebrate, because are these sustainable? You have to. It's not just about making policies. It's about the sustainability of these policies. The CBN governor has tried, him and his team. They've been trying, person of Yemi Cardoso, they've been trying their best doing these things. But are these things sustainable? That is the critical
That's the long-term goal.
And I think without production, local production, it is not sustainable. Whatever will make naira gain so much against the dollar and make it do that on a sustainable basis is production. Until we ramp up local production, we should not expect such. We can only have just the way we have it earlier this year. We are having it now. It will go back to what it was if it is not backed up by production.
Okay, let's look at the food production now and then security. You know, how does grain importation now contribute to, you know, food insecurity that we are facing in Nigeria? And definitely the contribution should be enormous, and then it should benefit Nigerians. But the cost angle now that we're looking at, inflation at a little bit above 40%, and then the inflation rate to above 33%. So how key is it going to be for Nigerians to be able to manage, you know, at this point, given the current prices of food in the market?
Thank you, Sam, for this question. Actually, for me to answer this question is multifaceted, in the sense that we are looking at just the immediate effect of it, which is we are thinking, oh, Nigerians will fare off, they'll be better. But what will it be? Of what importance is it for you to take 2 steps forward and you are taking 10 steps backward? So that is more like what this is going to, the situation we're going to get after this. But believe me, when we have this importation, when our markets are flooded with all these imported products, Nigerians, you say, oh, wow, we have food everywhere. But what will it result into? It means the local production is going to be impacted. And when this is impacted, it means we are already talking about we are not producing enough. So which means we are still, now, the little ones we are trying to produce now, we are saying we are not killing that initiative. We are not allowing the people to breed, so to speak, the farmers to breed. So which means we will not have the desired result, because in essence, everybody's saying, okay, there's hunger, everybody's hungry, and we need food. We need, quite all right, we need food. And the other angle I want us to consider is when these grains come into the country, aside the fact that we have private importers that are importing them.
Yes.
Now, how about the ones that have been distributed by the federal government? You saw that the federal government is releasing some trucks of rice today. Now, this does not trickle down to the masses. It only trickles down to party loyalists or party members, and that is another problem. We have to start looking. We have to start looking how to tackle.
Okay, we'll be going on a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll be trying to look at how Nigerian government can, reduce the dependency of importation of grains, and then also looking at the next angle of making sure that these grains that are being imported, get to the actual farmers and then get to every household in Nigeria and not just stopping, at the top level of the elites. Stay with us. When we return back, Midday Discourse continues. Yes, many thanks for joining. If you're just joining us, this is Midday Discourse, and then we are extracting the impact of grain importation and price implementation on the effect of the grains that is being said to be imported into the country by the federal government. So before we went on the break, we're about to extray and look at the angle of dependency on importations of grains. We are blessed here in Africa, mostly here in Nigeria. We have vast land. So why are we still dependent on importation, and how can we get off from this phase that we are of importing food?
Thank you very much, Sam, for that question. First is just to be direct about that. It's just the political will, the willingness of our leaders to do something for the people of the country, not just about themselves alone. Because we are, like you mentioned, we are blessed with vast land, and we have people that are willing to farm. And just because the intentionality and the political will of our leaders is not in place, they play politics about everything. I keep saying that, and that is one thing that is not helping us as a nation, playing politics with almost everything. And that is why, and that also, that you find that play out in government, whereby a particular political party is ruling now. When another political party comes, he abandons completely the project that has been done by his predecessor, forgetting that this is still the same fund. What the predecessor used to do to embark on this project is the same fund, the state fund, not his personal fund. So we abandon everything and start new things afresh. So these are some of the problems that we are having, and like you mentioned, the intentionality. If there's a look at what is happening, I need to mention Governor Zulum.
Yes,
you can see some Borno State, some of those things that are happening. So that is to show you a leader who wants to do things for the people, and not just for the elite or for themselves.
It's very key for Nigerians to be able to have access to these grains. Now, the regulatory body now, how key is it going to be for them to make sure the framework of these grains getting imported, or wherever it's going to be coming from, because it wasn't stated, we're just informed that grains will be imported and we don't know where exactly, but from history and research, we've seen that we've imported from Ukraine, Philippines, China, and America, and even some part of Africa. So how key is it for the regulatory bodies now to make sure that the grains that we actually get are, the high class, not the first grade, let me use that word, first grade, and then not something that we can just come that has low quality.
Well, thank you for that. But for me personally, and for the Economic Center, we don't believe in that because that's a policy we see that that would erode the progress that have been made so far by the president. So we are not in support of the importation of grain at all. So the question of making sure it's standardized is really not there for us, we believe. But if I may just say something personally, my own personal opinion about that is, it's just, like I said earlier, the political will, what you want to do for your people. So if you have the interest of the people at heart, then you will know the kind of standard you should permit into the economy, so that we don't pollute the economy and we don't flood the economy with substandard product, and which can lead to many health issues and the like. So,
you know, you made mention of local production. Let's dwell on that for a minute.
Yeah.
You know, what initiatives are there in place to like promote self-sufficiency in grain production? Because now this is looking at the angle of training of these local farmers.
Yes, our organization, we also believe so much in training, which is the human capital development. If we believe when people are trained, when they increase their stock of knowledge, when their awareness is in place, when they have the social and the behavioral attitude, and so they can increase their production. And this we will not achieve this unless we go through training. And like I also said, the leaders have a major role to play here. I'm impressed by what is happening currently, the initiative that was started in Imo State by Governor Opus Zodima, talking about one community, one business strategy. And I think that is a good one. And these are some of the programs we believe our leaders, when I talk about our leaders, I mean the public servants, the governors, these are the things they should do. Like, I need to also state it at this point that government, the role of government is catalytic. Government is not supposed to be at the front, at the forefront of it, but should catalyze the people, make people do things that will change the economy, not just at most time what we find out is people, the people in the government, they want to do these things themselves. No, but you are supposed to support the people to do things, make the environment conducive enough for them, make investors come into the economy to invest. Although I also need to mention that looking at the statistics in first quarter 2024, we have a net a positive import. Our positive export rather, because our export is above our import. Which is a good one, but that is a starting point.
That's a starting point.
It's sustainable. So these are some of the issues we need to look at. And like I mentioned, the leaders have to be intentional. They have to come up with programs. And I love what the special advisor to on economic affairs to the governor, what I was listening to him speaking, and he said something about what they do is they are challenging each communities. Mentioned about, I think there are about over 660 communities in Imo State. Yes. They are challenging each community to come up with a business idea. Come up with things you know you can do as a community and manage it. So and that also aligns with some of our solutions at Economic Center, where we talk about village solutions. We believe the people can do much more than they are doing now if they are properly engaged.
Let's look at looking at the angle, because you made mention of sustainability now. What angles now can the government use to sustain our current export rates? And if you're looking at it, last year, the year 2023, we had a total import of like 7.1%, you know, in the whole year. And then in the first quarter of 2022, it actually went up by about 30%. So how can we have a sustainable means of local production? You know, there are lots of challenge. So how can those angles be tackled now so we wouldn't like at least cut down the level of importation that we have?
It's simple. And when I say simple, it means first, the human capital development. We have to develop the people by training and retraining them. You have to upskill, relearn. And two, the government have to make the environment conducive, provide infrastructures. You cannot talk about sustainability without talking about constant power supply, whereby you have to also reduce the cost of doing business, whereby people don't depend much on fuel. The PMS, you can see what is happening all over Abuja now.
Yeah.
Long queues. I was interacting with someone, he said he queued for over 4 hours to get fuel. And this 4 hours that should have been invested in something productive, but you are just on a queue, wasting away those 4 hours. So these are some of the things we need to tackle. We need to make sure there's constant power supply. The small businesses, like the economy, the Nigerian economy comprises of over 90%. 90% of it are small businesses. So we need to make business easy for these people to run. So by reducing the cost, we need to make power supply constant. And not only that, we have to also give incentives. Now we are talking about electricity hike. We should remove that completely, bring it lower for the business people. You can do a targeted palliative, so to speak. And at the Economic Center, we frown against the complete removal of the fuel subsidy. And I hope you know that we are still paying subsidy, because if the landing cost of fuel is over 1,000 naira, and what you and I buy at the gas station, not at the black market now, at the gas station is below 1,000 naira. So somebody is paying for the difference. So who is paying for the difference? So, and that is another discussion.
Well, that's another discussion, obviously. That's another angle to the whole thing. But looking at this, the angle, you made mention of, the fuel queues, though, due to the headband governance protest that started last week, lots of marketers are like hoarding and not being willing to release. Though I was actually going to come down to this topic where we had fuel subsidy, and then it's looking like since fuel subsidy was removed and then we have a spike in the fuel price, PMS price, everything skyrocketed, food price. Do you think it's solely on the fuel subsidy removal, or there are other factors that led to that?
It's majorly on the subsidy removal, because our economy depends mostly on the produce from this oil, the PMS. A lot of people, they do their businesses based on the fuel. They don't have constant power supply to run their business, so they have to, one way or the other, they have to get there. The farmers need to move their goods down to the market, so they have to employ the service of a transporter who also uses PMS. So that is how the thing, that is the cycle of it. So it's a major factor in all of this. So and when that is taken out, and when that has been increased by I also need to state here that if I was in the position of President Tinubu, he shouldn't have mentioned it that fuel subsidy is gone, because he did not end it. The previous administration ended it, but he just made the announcement, and that was why everybody's holding him responsible for that, because in the budget, it was not, the budget did not run through. It was not, subsidy was not catered for till the end of 2023. So it stopped. But him coming out to say he's gone, that's where the problem is. So a lot of people are attributing that to him, whereas he did not stop it.
A lot of persons have actually argued that Mr. President actually inherited an economy that is actually drying up and on its way out of the window, out of the door. Meaning, and some also argued that he inherited an economy that seems to be like a loaded gun, waiting for someone to just fire it. So now, do you think him, on the first day of assuming office, before even getting to the office, the pronouncement of subsidy removal is the bedrock, rather, of the whole high cost of living that we are experiencing? You
cannot take that away from the equation, because like I just mentioned, a lot of people depend on this product to run their businesses, to do their day-to-day activities. A lot of them run on that. And for you to come and declare such, and it's so funny, because I just said earlier, you said you have put an end to it, but there's still a difference. We are still seeing a difference between the landing cost and the pump price. So who pays for the difference? So if you are to say it the way it is.
What is the landing price?
The landing price is over 1,000 naira, around 1,100 naira per liter. And now we are paying less than 700, or at most maybe 800 or so.
NNPC sells for 617, and some other different filling stations sells at almost 700, some 750, 800 thereabout. So that means now, from what I'm kind of calculating now, that means there's a few difference that it's not being accounted for.
Yes, there's a significant difference that we are not accounting for. So who is paying for that? So if you announce that you have ended fuel subsidy, you have ended the subsidy regime, then what is happening? Now, one would have expected when President Tinubu was addressing protesters, when he made that national broadcast on Sunday,
yes,
and we were thinking he would use that opportunity to come out straight to Nigerians and tell us
look at what's going on.
They are actually still paying for subsidy. And, but then if he says that, another question comes up. Where have you been funding the subsidy from? Because it's not in the budget. So if you claim, and those are some of the things some people will look at and they will be like, there's no difference between the past administration and what we are currently experiencing in that regard, because you said you have ended it and we are seeing it. Then we know majority of our revenue comes from oil, from the sale of oil. So which means that it's probably we are selling more than we are telling Nigerians we are selling, or we are producing more than what we told Nigerians that we are producing.
Yes.
So which is not supposed to be. So somebody should do the explanation. Tell Nigerians what is actually happening.
You know, Dangote has said his products would hit the markets from the 10th of August, which is hopefully tomorrow. We are supposed to start having Dangote's products in the markets now. How key is it that if his product hits the market, we are going to have a landing price that is lesser than 1,000 and then see a change in the PMS price?
Yes, I need to state there we should not over-expect from that, because over-expectation at times might breed some discontent among people. Because I used to say this first, Dangote is a businessman. He's is refining oil and selling oil to make profit.
Profit, yes.
Which is the bottom line for every business organization.
And he has loan to pay.
So he has a lot of loan to pay. And so we shouldn't expect much from it. However, because the transportation cost is no longer there, that should be, previously before Dangote, we used to import this fuel, so we have to pay for the shipping cost and all that to bring it into the country. Now, this has been refined within the country. So which means now the only thing that we should expect to reduce is the transportation cost that we would have spent. But if we are expecting to buy it lesser than what is being sold at the international market, that would be over expectation from us, and which it wouldn't go that way actually.
Okay, we'll still look at the angle of safety for the food importation, or even if a lot of persons have actually frowned against it, but we will still have to look at it, because we don't have to leave any stone unturned, because it looks as if the federal government and the custom are bent and key on having this importation done, because it's set guidelines are being put in place by the custom, and then by next week I think every other measures will get kicked in. So we'll go on a quick break, and when we come back, we'll look at quality and then safety angles. We'll be right back. Do stay with us. Yes, welcome back from that quick break. So, we were actually having a conversation before we called back, but we'll continue that in the course of the show. We'll be looking at safety now measures and quality to ensure that safety of grains are being imported, and how imported grains are being inspected and certified. If you're looking at Australia now, you don't get into Australia with some kind of food, because their security system there and all, like, okay, it goes through a certain process and test. How do we certify these grains now and and inspect them properly for it to be consumable, because we're not certain of which products we'll be buying in the market from the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks thereabout?
Okay, thank you, Sam. I also need to answer that. I'll say this again. As from the economic center, we strongly do not think that is the way to go. because importation of these grains will further damage the economy than save the economy. Now, but on a personal note, personally, my own opinion is this: we can say this should not be something we should even be deliberating.
It shouldn't be an option,
because you should know what the people should contribute. You cannot bring in goods that will come and that will
halt your own production,
affect the health of the people who gave you their mandate. So the people voted for you. If the people actually voted for you, then you should not do things that would affect their health, that will lead to more crises, that will cause them problem down the line. So everybody needs to be up and doing. The custom needs to do their duty properly, because they've been through a lot of training. They know how the standardization is being done. We have many organizations that are in charge of that, the SON and what have you. So the NAFDAC and all other agencies, they are there, and this is the time for them to perform their duty. So whether we talk about from one particular country or not from a particular country, when those people are doing what they are supposed to do, then every Nigerian can be rest assured that whatever they are going to get at the market is not something that will impact their health negatively. You know, if these products are getting to the country, how key is it that it's going to get to every household and actual farmers in Nigeria? That is in terms of the seedlings. If you are talking in terms of the seedlings, the farmers, it's like I mentioned earlier, most things in Nigeria, they are politicized. And beyond what it should be, this shouldn't be the case. Because if not for anything, this kind of initiative, you should believe that it should trickle down to the farmers. But you find out that it's only people that are connected to the ruling party that will benefit from this. That is those that are coming from the state. But those that are being imported by the private businessmen, those ones, they go straight into the market and they are sold at the market. But the ones that are supposed to go through the states, I can assure you that majority of them will end in the coffer of their party loyalists and their party members. Okay, with this importation now, how can we say, or where do we think the current grain forecast is going to go to? That is in terms of planting and production back home here in Nigeria. And if you talk about we have the North. The North, they have... Even Niger here. Yes. No, we have to also commend what Governor Mr. Farmer... Yes, he prefers to be addressed as a farmer. Yes, we have to also commend what he's doing in Niger State, because he has gone into mechanized farming, and we should start seeing results. And this is why, this also brings me back to the point I made earlier, the intentionality of the leader. So you can see a governor who is also who is intentional about his actions, about ending hunger in his state. He wants to produce not only for his state, but to export to neighboring states and even outside the country. So this is the intentionality of it. So we have vast land in the north. We have even, it's just for you to study the natural endowment, which I believe every governor should be doing that now. Know your natural endowment, tap into your natural endowment, and trade with it with your natural endowment. And before you know it, the people should be smiling. Yes, you know, the president, while addressing the nation during, that was on Sunday, about the end bad governance, he made mention of having, states provide lands, and then the federal government will sponsor the farming process of all kinds of food. So how do you think, do you think Nigeria have enough land to carry out such magnitude of farming? Definitely we do have land, because countries that don't have... Looking at the insecurity issues now, because bandits and kidnappers and, all sort of groups have now taken over the forest, so which has led a whole lot of people to be internal displaced. So how key is it now that we have enough land to be able to carry a magnitude of projects like that? Okay, whether we have insecurity in the country or not does not change the fact that we have enough land mass to embark on this kind of project. And two is that we now have to tackle insecurity. Somebody like me, I was on this program, I was on this station earlier this year when we were discussing the budget, and I made mention about the increment in the security vote, what was given for, what was allocated for defense and security, we were thinking that we should have a lot of positive, we should gain a lot of positive impact in that regards. But it still boils down to the willingness of the people to end it. I used to say security, the Nigerian military that I know, they gather a lot of intelligence. And this intelligence, gathering the intelligence is one thing, acting on the intelligence is another thing. Not only the Nigerian military, we have the DSS, other people, they have this intelligence, but making use of this intelligence that have been gathered is the question. And when we are not making use of it, it means somebody somewhere is benefiting from this. So which also means that it is, I can say it is man-made. The insecurity we keep having.
You think it's political?
It definitely. That's why I said earlier that everything, we politicize everything here in this country. Some people want to make gain politically. We had all sorts of story about some people empowering them at first and the likes. But I believe if we really want to solve it, we can solve it because we know the people.
You know, the farmer governor, that is the Niger State governor, as he likes to be called, a farmer governor, has been provided over 1,000 tractors by this current administration. Do you think Niger State is enough to feed the agricultural sector in Niger, is enough to feed itself and then the country at large? Because we actually have large mass of land in Niger and good soil.
Yes, I think to start with, I think they can do well reasonably by feeding themselves first, if in that regard. But also extending it to other states, to neighboring states, they can actually do that. And for the fact that you can see the governor doing a lot in terms of the tractors, you just mentioned the tractors and the other implements that were made available to farmers to support growth in that sector. And I think if we have 36 states in this country. If other states can follow suit, and the ones that have such landmass area, if they can follow suit, we know Lagos doesn't have as much as that. But states that have that, if they can follow suit, then before you know it, they can trade together at some point. And you know, we cannot also rule away the fact that these states can go into partnership. At some point, Lagos State was partnering with Kebbi State for the production of rice. So this kind of partnership can also take place in the country. So when we have this kind of partnership, you okay, fine, for us, we don't have a lot of land that we can use for farming, but you have a lot of land. Okay, come, let's partner, let's do this together, and let both of us benefit from it. So these are things that are open to our leaders. It's just for them to be willing to take the opportunity.
Let's look at Bank of Agriculture and the Ministry of Agriculture in Nigeria. There's two major agencies now, right? These two different organizations now are supposed to be the bedrock of farming in Nigeria. What initiative do you think they need to pay more attention to, that's aside human capital? What initiative do you think they need to pay more attention to help train these farmers and then have them go back to farms? And also the angle of them getting having price regulation and implementation and not having this Abuja mindset of food prices.
Thank you very much for that. For me, I think they have enough initiatives. It's just for us to feel the impact.
And then the implementation.
Yes, to feel the impact through the implementation. If they are properly implemented, then we should already feel the impact. So they have a lot of training, like you mentioned. They give support in terms of loans, some even...
Do you think giving the loans is actually the right thing, or buying the equipment and giving?
It depends on the need. There are some instances you don't give the loan, you give the implement, and there are some instances you definitely need to give the loan for them to be able to do their things. Okay, for the equipment now, you know, some farmers may not be able to afford a tractor, but we are talking about partnering. You can also come together. Different farmers can come together to own one tractor. Okay. Yes, within the same area, farming within the same area, they can come together, pool resources, get a tractor, so everybody uses the tractor. So with this, you can increase your harvest and the like. So I think they are doing enough, but it's just for for us to start feeling the impact.
The impact. So what's your final words now as we begin to round up? Time is no longer our friend. So what's your final word? What angle now, or what advice do you have for the government on things that need to be done, major done, to help, curb out, ease out the anger protesters, and as well as help Nigerian economy blossom?
Thank you very much. If I would say, the first thing I would say is the government have to be sincere with the people.
Okay.
So you need, because the public trust is dropping, the people need to trust the government more. So how will they trust the government more if the government is not transparent to them? So the government needs to come out and say things the way they are. One major lingering issue is this subsidy issue. The government needs to come out boldly and tell the people. And two is that we still have to develop our character in terms of human capital development, rather, because you find out that in Nigeria we have a lot of people that are skilled, but in terms of their behavior and attitude, it's not globally, it's not something that you can trade with, or something you can have a partnership with, because we have opportunity to partner with the outside world, but it's not only your skills that will do that. So the government needs to do more in terms of leading by coming out openly to the people, telling the people the way things are. And I think that will appease to the angry protesters.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Akunle, Director General of Center for Economic Center for Growth Development. I'll be here in Abuja. Thank you so much for taking our time to join us on today's edition of the program. Yes, and then that's how much time will permit us to take on today's edition. And I want to say a very big thank you to the entire production team for making the program all through Monday through Friday possible. And I also want to thank me for also being available. You have a great weekend ahead. I'll see you Monday. Bye for now.